joining us on another episode of the Leadership Cafe, where we talk to extraordinary people who are leading remarkable businesses. My name is, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Michael Couch.
I hope you remember your name. It's Michael Couch. And I'm Richard Citron, and we're so glad and grateful that you've joined us today for this episode. It's going to be a great episode with Justin talking about the Regional Learning Alliance and all things conferences in this age of 2020 pandemic era. And, you know, in times of change like we're experiencing, it's important to turn to insightful leaders like Justin to find out how they're directing their businesses, accepting these challenges that we're all facing, and helping to make their communities a little bit better, which I think we all can agree is a great thing for us to be doing right now.
You bet. And before we dive into it, we want to make sure we thank our sponsor, Vaco, a global talent solutions company. We really appreciate their support and sponsorship of the Leadership Cafe. So as Richard mentioned, our special guest today is Justin Griffith, the CEO and Chief Operating Officer of the Regional Learning Alliance. Justin, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Great. So we thought we'd start off, if you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, and then tell us about the business and other interests that you've got going right now.
Okay, well, for those who may be not familiar with the Regional Learning Alliance, I'll start there. Many people call us the RLA. We're located, we're located in Allegheny and Butler County. We straddle the border. Our mailing address is Cranberry Township. Our real address is Marshall Township, Allegheny County. So we're right on that border. We're 79 in the Turnpike meet, and we've been in business since 2004. And we are a collaborative organization that was spawned out of the idea of then President Bob Smith of Slippery Rock University. And Bob really wanted to find a way for educational institutions and nonprofit organizations and businesses to all collaborate together to meet the workforce and training and education needs of Western Pennsylvania, and to not compete for students and not compete for services, but to collaborate. So we were built really on the idea of collaboration first. For me, I've been here since 2005, so I don't really know where 15 years has gone, but
haven't we all said that?
So quickly, and but I've been here 15 years, make Western PA my home. You probably recognize I might sound like I'm a little bit further south.
Yep.
So, I'm originally from West Virginia, so I didn't really have to come too far to be here for the last 15 years. But yeah, it's a great organization. It's an amazing place, and it's amazing services. And I don't use the word amazing lightly, because I really think what we've done with the partnership of so many entities together has really been just a remarkable 16 years that we've been going strong, and we continue to go strong despite the situation with COVID and the shutdowns and all the things we've had to deal with. So,
well, you know, Justin, the obvious question is, how does an organization that's focused on bringing people together succeed in an era when nobody wants to get together?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, because I think people want to get together. They just want to get together face to face, right? Yeah. So I think that's the trick, and I think that's probably the biggest obstacle most everyone's facing right now, is how do you get your business, how do you function in business if you can't be together? So technology, that's been the biggest solution for most people. And for us, we've really worked hard to make hybrid meetings have a really good place in this time of COVID. So to use technology to bring people together. We've done that. We've helped with that. Obviously, though, people aren't meeting at our campus, and conference services are sort of around the world just on a hiatus right now. Right. And we've really worked to make sure that those who use our services, and by the way, 75,000 people a year is what we get the RLA. So we're seeing a lot of people on a normal basis, and So that went to practically nothing when COVID hit, so everybody's canceling. Everybody was really scrambling to figure out what they're going to do with their, not just their training needs, but conferencing, classes, just the multitude of activity we have. And so we spent a lot of time and effort really helping them to figure that out, whether or not it's pushing things back to 2021, whether or not it's continuing in a different format, whether or not it's taking just it all virtual. And, there's not a one size fits all for this. And I think we've really tried to just work hard to help each and every person that uses the RLA. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of entities. I think we've had something like close to 500 events and classes that were affected, Right. So it was a lot to deal with and it still is, because so many folks are trying to figure out how are we going to train people, and can we do it virtually, or can we do it in a hybrid model? And if we do it in a hybrid model face to face, how can we do it safely? So we've also worked hard to try to not only develop a health and safety protocol, which we think is pretty great, but how do we make sure we roll that out in a really calculated, careful manner, so that we can have some element of face-to-face, learning. And we've done that, and we've done that carefully. We were closed for a few weeks, but when we were able to open, we did so under the guidance of the Commonwealth, CDC, the World Health Organization. We really used all of their recommendations to try to build a health and safety protocol to allow us to offer some limited services.
Well, and Justin, as a leader during of a pretty substantial organization there, what have you found that's been critical for you, the role for you to play to sort of manage through these kinds of challenges and to keep all your team in tow?
Well, I think adaptability has been the most important thing to really get out of this. And that's the one thing that I can say that has been the most impressive from my team's perspective, how adaptable they've been, because so many of them just, they're in their day-to-day work, and it involves face-to-face communication with people. And now we really have a lot of work to do to change how we're going to do business in the next, well, it's been 6 months, so who knows how much longer. But, I've been really impressed with my team's ability to be adaptable, stay positive. That's been another real important part, and to really show, listen, we don't have to speed things up too much here. I think there was a initial part of this was everybody thought, well, we have to really be fast. We have to really figure this out. And I'm someone who thinks, well, let's slow things down for just a little bit. Let's figure out the best, most considerate way and careful way to do things, and really take our time to figure out the best way to do things, not just a way to do things moving forward. And I think our team, that's really sort of the approach of most of our team members. Even though we have a very diverse team at the RLA, we're all very concerned about each other, and we're very concerned about those we serve, and that's first and foremost in this. Everybody said, okay, what are we going to do to help everybody? Take a careful approach to this.
Excellent.
Justin, you mentioned about a diverse workforce, and you'll certainly, along with COVID this year, have been issues around racial equity and justice. And I know the RLA has been a center for covering all kinds of topics and discussion. Has that come up with your team? Has that been an area of discussion and focus, and how have you as a leader addressed that with your team and with the larger community?
Well, we're living in a movement for social justice, and I think our workforce leaders, we have to make choices. No matter how large or how small your organization, we have a very small organization, we have to stand up against racism by our actions. We can't just be silent in it. I think that simply having an anti-discrimination policy is not enough. You really have to you have to teach things like empathy, and you have to work on what you can do to move things forward. We did pre-COVID. We have empathy training with our staff. think it's very important to, help your employees to see how others think and feel and might respond. To be thoughtful and to be encouraging, to listen to others. I think we have such a progressive team at the RLA, and we always have, and perhaps that's just the nature of, having people in a very, in a place with so many different people, so many different backgrounds. We everything from early education, where we're teaching based on models of, Montessori and Reggio Emilia, and we have teachers who are really, they're really poised to teach empathy in their classes. They do talk about how others feel, and that starts at our Early Learning Center here at the RLA, and we move that all the way through all the programs we have. And I think that I can say that I think everybody, I've been proud to hear how all of our partners have addressed it as well. All of our different universities that use our campus as a home campus, and all of the different partners within our building have, I think, hopefully taken it seriously. They haven't ignored it, haven't stayed silent. We do talk openly among our staff about the social injustices that's been happening, and just really, I think the biggest thing is just to let people know that we're here to support their thoughts and their views on it, and that, that's what being open is all about.
Yeah, great. Well, Justin, I also noticed in your background that, I'm not sure how you got to where you are from starting off with an associate's degree in architectural engineering, but it sounds like a very intriguing career. But I also noticed that you're an educational psychologist.
Yeah.
And I would say that how we're educating kids and adults these days is changing dramatically. So I'd be interested in your perspective on what do you see working and not working in that respect.
Yeah, so educational psychology was development of through my development of my career. I began, really my interest started when my very first job, I was an executive director of a chamber of commerce in CVB, and I was charged with developing business leadership programs. And so that developed my interest in learning. And I went on to work for WVU, Center for Lifelong Learning, and of course, seeing learning every day, helping develop programs every day for learning. That really led to ultimately becoming an educational psychologist. And certainly the time of COVID has really, it has changed learning. And there are a lot of things we don't know. For example, children going to school, social distancing, and wearing masks. I'm interested to learn in the research. Hopefully, and there are some research studies that I'm learning about that are happening to see if the levels of learning are the same or different based on those factors. So from an ed psych perspective, I have a lot of interest in that alone. But I know that face-to-face learning is second to none in terms of how the effects of learning and how they build learning throughout your entire life. So we are just really going to be there's going to be research, and we're going to find out if the long-term effects. I do think there will be long-term effects, both negative and both positive, from learning the way we are now forced to learn, both from early age through colleges and universities. It does work really well for some people, and for others maybe not so much when you're talking about adult students in college and university programs.
Yeah, my daughter is involved in early childhood education, and she's most concerned about those with special needs, because as you mentioned, there's different learning requirements here, and it'd be very interesting to see how this plays out.
I agree. I think for special needs, that's a very hands-on, very specialized area of early learning. And so children who are autistic, I think some may not just react well to some of the conditions that are
Yes.
placed on early education right now.
Yeah.
One of the things that we know about leaders that Michael and I have written about is that they're lifelong learners. And I guess, one of the things that I wonder about is, how do you see learning changing? What are the innovation edges for learning that you think might come out of this pandemic experience?
Well, some really positive things I'll say. I think technology's assistance with long term. I'll give you an example. So we're sitting in class and we're learning, and we're able to record that class so that you can go back and help it reiterate your memory. So if you think to yourself, I remember learning about this specific area, there's specific content, and you can go back and say, okay, let me listen to that or watch that again. And you can do that. And then, of course, the benefits of that are it helps you to retain information. You're going back, you're listening to something again, you get that second ability to hear the professor again talk. I think that's a really positive part of recording classes, making them Zoom, making them Teams. Many of our colleges and universities are what they're doing is they're recording classes. So if you're live and you want to go back and listen to that lecture again, or just get the content again, you can. Now, granted, that was happening prior to COVID, but it wasn't happening to the level it is now.
Yes.
Because
Participation.
now over 80% of the courses are being recorded. Now that speaks to higher education, but I also think there's levels of that will roll out from primary and secondary education as well. So I think so many of the schools are going to say, okay, we're going to record sessions so that if students miss class, you don't have to worry about a sick day anymore, because you're going to be able to go back and watch that class again and get that content. And I think snow days are probably going to be a thing of the past.
Oh, darn it.
Kids are not going to, right? Kids are not going to get to listen to the TV and see if their classes are canceled, because they're going to have to stay home and learn if that happens. And so some of that learning won't be lost. And I like that technology is assisting us in the reiteration of content, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So it's going to help in that way. And I think there are definitely other positive ways that technology, that the use of technology is going to help as well, because we were forced to become comfortable with it, right?
Yeah, we had to.
We had to. And so parents who maybe didn't even understand how Zoom or Teams or other software, other programs worked, are now learning those programs, and because they have to make sure their kids are online and they're ready to learn every day. They're there to troubleshoot, and so it's helping them become more familiar with technology, specifically learning technology. And I think that is a positive outcome.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that blew me away about Zoom was that you can get a transcript of what the content of the session is about. So not only can you watch it, but you can read it as well. And that, I think, is a big advance from just watching a video of something that had been done previously.
Yeah, and my 92-year-old mother has figured out to go to meeting and Zoom both. So I think that's talk about lifelong learning there, huh?
Yes.
That's right. That's right. I'm starting I'm going to be in a master gardener program in Allegheny County starting this month. And the very first one they've ever had virtually. It's always been a hands-on program, but rather than to cancel the program, those of us who were going to be students, they're making it a virtual program. So, I think while there's some nervousness around that, for those of us who are lifelong learners and just want to continue to be able to learn, it opens up the world to a lot of possibilities that we didn't necessarily have before. Yeah. And I really think that is going to help overall with learning throughout our entire lives, especially those who may not be able to get out or feel comfortable leaving their house. To be able to learn something while they're in quarantine is a good thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the questions we've been asking folks as a way to wrap up, and you've touched on it a little bit here, but
Mhm.
you know, Mel, there's so much in the media about what the pandemic and other challenges has done to us. But what we've been asking is, you know, what have some of the current social and business challenges done for you? So if you think about that, Justin, what do you think the navigating 2020 has done for you?
Particularly for you as a leader.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I definitely, I mentioned it before, I think it's helped me to be adaptable. It's also helped me to think about other things we as an organization can do.
Mm.
When you're really inundated with your day-to-day operations, and you're very, very busy and you're servicing people every day and servicing students, you don't really think about, well, what else could I necessarily do moving this organization forward? And this has opened us up to think about where we want to be, in what things we want to be doing that we're not doing now. And so and actually it's pretty exciting for me to think about that, because as an organization that does evolve pretty rapidly, throughout the changes in our workforce and the changes in learning needs, we've done that. How can we serve our community in ways that we haven't in the past? And we've had organizations come to us asking us things that we've never done before, but if we can help somebody to do it, that's what we're a nonprofit organization. That's what we're going to do. That's why we're here. We're here to serve. And so it's helped us to look at possibilities we never thought of before. And for me personally, not just adaptability, but it's constantly really looking at, now is the time you have compassion for others. You really can stop and think about all of the crazy things that are happening with COVID, but all the important social changes that are happening. I know people think of it and think, oh, when are we going to get through this? But, like anything else, it's about the journey. How are we going to get through the journey? It's not just the end of the road. I don't think that's what this is all about. It's about really being honest about where we are right now as a country and as people, and having these social justice issues in front of us, and being careful and thoughtful about what we do about them to move forward. And that for me has been really an eye-opening experience.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Well, Justin, we'd like to thank you for joining us today on the Leadership Cafe. This has been a great discussion, I think, bringing us up to speed on learning and how organizations like the Regional Learning Alliance are, I don't want to say coping, but really thriving through these challenges. And I think that obviously sharing some of your leadership tips are just great to share as well. Can you provide our listeners with a link to reach the RLA and to reach out to you in case they want to make a further connection?
Yeah, so the RLA, THERLA.org, our website. Justin at therla.org is my email. So I hope they do. I love hearing from people that maybe want to engage in our services or how we can help in other ways.
Great.
And just to make sure they don't confuse it with the other RLA, it's the RLA is this one for sure.
Right. I think RLA is maybe an Australian company of some sort. So
very good.
Find the Regional Learning Alliance at RLA. It's therla.org.
Beautiful.
Great.
Hey, Justin, thank you for joining us today. We want to send you, Michael and I are going to send you a copy of our new book, Strategy Driven Leadership. You can see I already have it bookmarked, that I've been rereading it again. We also want to thank our sponsor, VACO, for helping make the Leadership Cafe an important place for us to visit with some of our most successful CEO leaders in our community. There's Echo sharing her sentiment with you as well. And remember that you can listen to this webcast on Michael's website and my website as well. And also, of course, on the VACO website, which is vaco.com. You also see these posted every Thursday on our LinkedIn post, and they're listed as well in Spotify. We also want to thank our producer director extraordinaire, Michelle Jaroszewski, for providing such amazing support to us. Michelle, thank you. And for all of us at the Leadership Cafe, thanks for joining in. I'm Richard Citrin.
And I'm Michael Couch, and we look forward to connecting with you on the next Leadership Cafe.
Thank you.